Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2024. I am Dave Bryan from SteelersDepot.com, and with me, as usual, the one, the only, the great Alex Kozora, fresh off of another trip to Saint Vincent College in Latrobe to see Steelers Training Camp. Today is August the 12th. It is Monday evening. It is 5:18, so you can get an idea when all this is taking place here. Alex, happy Monday, and counting down the days. You got one more trip to go out there, and that will be on Wednesday.
Yeah, but still looking forward to that practice and everything we can learn at one last time out to Saint Vincent College and on the field, padded practice, live tackling Monday. It's officially game week. Pittsburgh, Buffalo on Saturday, the joint practice Thursday. So still a ton to talk about here.
Absolutely. But before we do, shout out to our host of the special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Touring Plans, touringplans.com. Tell them once again about Touring Plans, Alex.
Sure, it's been a long-time sponsor of our Steelers Depot training camp coverage. Mention them at the top of every show. Also, the information is in our daily diary at the top, including a link to the website, touringplans.com, because, Dave, it's the best place to book your upcoming trip to Disney World, Disneyland, or Disney Cruise Line. With Touring Plans, you'll get access to their crowd calendar, which will allow you to know the days in times when the parks are the busiest, plans to avoid waiting in line for hours and hours, insider restaurant reviews, how to save money on tickets, and just overall tips to have the best possible time. Again, Disney World, Disneyland, or Disney Cruise Line. So check out touringplans.com and tell them Steelers Depot sent you.
Yeah, please do. And shout them out on Twitter if you're on Twitter/X, and let them know. Thank them for sponsoring these special editions of the Terrible Podcast as they start to come to a close here. All right, Alex, a little bit of housekeeping. We didn't have any really transactions until late this afternoon. And I think we've got a couple of open roster spots at this time as well, too. So tell them what happened late this afternoon.
There are now 2 open roster spots, and that one became 2 because Pittsburgh waived injured cornerback Kalen Barnes, who had a quad injury, suffered on Sunday midway through practice, did not practice today, and he has been waived injured. So once he clears waivers, he'll go to IR, probably get released with an injury settlement within a week or so, but that opens up that second spot on Pittsburgh's roster.
Yeah, we're starting to build up a little bit of list here of players I think we're waiting to see maybe some injury settlements on. And David Perales has been on that list for a while now. I think we're coming to either today or tomorrow, the 7-day period for him. So that knee injury might be serious enough that he has to stick on IR.
It looked like it was serious.
Okay, so because I haven't seen anything on him. And we had Tyler Murray waived injured couple of days ago. Nate Meters waived injured, and then obviously Braden Fehoko was sent to IR the other day as well too. All right, so that carries us through the transactions. Now for the health of the team, and feels like a couple people still not out there. Update us.
Some out, some working their way back. Did see Troy Fautanu, who did not practice today. Sounds week to week with that knee sprain. It's not a sleeve. It's not a full brace. I don't know what it is. We need Dr. Mel out there to get her expertise on what this thing he's wearing. But he's got something on his left leg, but he walked down the stairs and hill without much of an issue. So hopefully come back sooner than later. As Mike Tomlin has said, Roman Wilson still out. Tariq Black with a hamstring did not practice. Of course, Kalen Barnes didn't practice. DeMarvin Leal missed the second day. Don't know what's going on there. Dante Jackson and Deshaun Elliott did not practice. Assume it's minor, but they did not go. Jackson, that's back-to-back days he has missed. Alex Highsmith is ramping things up, still out with the groin injury, but was doing some jogging and work with a trainer on the side. So probably come back within a week or so is my guess in terms of practice. And Keanu Benton getting some conditioning work in as well with that eye injury. I don't think there was anything big during practice that I saw today. Did Tomlin have any injury updates from what happened mid-practice?
Let's see here what exactly he said this afternoon. He said there's not really anything to speak of. Deshaun Elliott, for example, Dante Jackson is an example of that, meaning some guys were given a day off. We've got guys with a myriad of training camp like bumps and bruises. So I guess Jackson and Elliott fall in line with the training camp bumps and bruises. It will be interesting, though, with Tuesday being a day off and then back at it Wednesday, and then they've got the scrimmage against the Buffalo Bills. You'd like to see as many people as possible take part in both those sessions there with the game coming up Friday night there. But we'll update the people, as things happen here, and specifically after the next training camp practice when it comes to the injury list there.
Should note just quickly as well, Cordero Patterson and Dean Lowry were full. They went through the team period today, so they are really fully back, which is great.
Good. All right, let's start with the quarterback position. Some footballs were flying long distances today, from my understanding, out at Saint Vincent College.
Yeah, they were. This was, if you want to talk about and frame it as such as a quarterback battle, there really was the first time all camp a feeling of a battle and two really competitive guys going at it tit for tat. And you had Wilson throw a great deep ball, like literally probably 60 air yards to Calvin Austin on a post from about his 10 to the defense's 30-yard line. You had Justin Fields hit a deep ball to Van Jefferson about 45, 50 yards. He also looked good. Fields did in 7-on-7, a great squeeze, kind of tight throw down the middle to Quez Watkins, a 7 route to Calvin Austin. So, yeah, you got two very live arms and two quarterbacks with a lot of arm talent, as the kids like to say.
All right. How many of those deep balls were completed during team?
Wilson's was in team to Austin. Fields was in team to Jefferson. So that was both 11-on-11 full sessions. The ones to Watkins and Austin on the 7 route I referenced were in 7-on-7. So it's a little less of the, full competition, take a little less stock in it. But the big plays of the day, the best throws were in the full team 11-on-11 periods.
Good. At the beginning of training camp, you had talked a little bit about Fields and kind of, I think, the accuracy in the intermediate area and all like that. What's your thoughts on him now with training camp starting to wind down? Have you seen a progression in that with him?
From a camp perspective, I have. I can't guarantee that's going to carry over into live game action. We'll have to see how that goes. But certainly from what he's done in Latrobe, I think he's really cleaned that up. He's not missing some of the stuff he missed throughout those first couple days of training camp. So that's been impressive. I think really I think maybe he has to work on his touch a little bit. It does feel like a lot of his passes are kind of one speed, a lot of the bullet passes. And it's not to say he can't throw without any touch, and throws a great deep ball that's great placement and accuracy overall. But I would say on the short intermediate stuff, still a bit of work there. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the biggest thing is all these passes that are batted down. Had another one knocked down at the line today by Dean Lowry. And I'm going to have to go back and count up how many there's been, probably 10 or 12. Now, there's a variety of reasons why that may be. I've talked about that before. It could be an arm angle thing, could be the defense not being able to truly rush and they get their hands up, could be an arm slot thing. It could be a bunch of different things. Fields is not a particularly tall quarterback either. And Wilson, to be fair, had a pass batted down today by Montravius Adams. So that's really the kind of the one consistent negative that stuck out is that aspect. But I think in a lot of ways, he's been more consistent in the accuracy in that short intermediate game. From a camp perspective, again, isolating to that from the start to finish has really been impressive and progressed.
I only see obviously bits and pieces, on Twitter and all like that. But how many of those kind of those kind of sail routes over to the sideline has Fields completed to guys like Pickens and Jefferson? It feels like there's been a lot of them.
Yeah, it does. I don't know how many in particular to those guys, but they've worked the sidelines a lot of 7 routes. It feels like a lot of that. Sail concepts we've talked about. We kind of saw that in games, some things very similar to that off of play action. The Jefferson catch, for example, left sideline was similar to the type of routes you'll see in camp each day. So that does seem to be a pretty clear staple of the Arthur Smith offense.
I mean, he throws a nice ball on that from what I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Downfield, he is excellent. One other quick note here with Russell Wilson, just a small thing. I kind of filed this late in my report, but it's one of the late team reps that I noticed it. But little things you would expect from a veteran like Wilson, his cadence, the hard count. He had a hard count today late in practice, got the defense to tip its hand about where they were rushing. Ryan Watts was coming on a blitz, and they made a check to probably adjust the protection on that play. So I look at some of those things, some of those small detail things of why I think Wilson still has the leg up and still the advantage because of things like cadence. His voice is it's a lot louder and clearer than Justin Fields. And small things like cadence can help maybe uncover what the defense is doing as well. And those things will give Wilson the advantage. But Fields, again, has been strong and better throughout, and it's been a really good camp for him overall.
All right. What did Plumlee do today?
Played quarterback and wide receiver. Did get a couple of quarterback reps today, which I don't think he got yesterday, but also played some receiver, slot, and outside. Did not catch a pass, was not targeted. He did go through with the quarterbacks and individual drills, so he's not made a full switch to receiver, but he is still doing kind of everything and wherever he can fill in, with lines being short at receiver with no Roman Wilson, no Tariq Black. It's giving Plumlee the opportunity to get those reps. So splitting between quarterback and receiver, and his typical return stuff today as well.
All right, let's move to running back, and let's talk about Cordell Patterson being back on the field and how he was used today.
He looked good. He didn't miss a beat from, this is his first official practice back, and really the first practice he's had in quite some time. I mean, OTAs, but first one in pads and, fully ready to go. And the first play, 7 shots, he was split out to the right, slot right, and he took an end around to the left and broke out of a DeMonte Casey, tackle attempt and scored and caught a pass later in practice. So, it was just first look at him, but he looked good. He looked in shape and ready to go.
Did he have any snaps in the backfield?
Yeah, he had a carry or two. I have to tabulate that, but he got some traditional running back work as well.
All right, what else do you have on the running backs? You mentioned, was it P. Ryan, I think, in a tweet today?
Yeah, there was one tough run. It was the live tackling period. It only went for 2-3 yards left side. The whole defense swarmed in, but P. Ryan stayed on his feet and was kind of trying to shrug off everybody. And then the new linebacker, LaQuay Washington, eventually wrestled him down, but we saw a little bit of kind of power and toughness there from P. Ryan. Thought Aaron Champlin ran well. Thought he showed some vision, explosiveness. Probably has to get vertical a little bit more. He's a little too horizontal, where he kind of wants to slightly bounce things, like run it up the middle, but then kind of want to bounce it a little bit wide, where I think he can get downhill. And I saw that in the game as well. But he's got explosion. He's got power. And I think had a bit better vision today. And Jonathan Ward had a couple of carries as well that impressed. So he's had a really good camp start to finish.
All right. Do we have any update on Jack Coletto today?
No real update. Still being used, obviously, in 21 personnel. Did see Connor Hayward get more fullback reps today. So right. I don't know if that means anything or not, but Hayward's still getting work there. Coletto's still getting time. I think one good lead block I have in my notes on Coletto, but nothing that stuck out in a new or different way.
All right, let's talk wide receiver now. And Van Jefferson, he's had a nice camp, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah, he really has. He's been strong start to finish. He's been consistent. He's got a great pair of hands. He's been more athletic than I thought. You still want to be careful how you measure camp, even good camps like Jefferson. Does that translate, and what kind of guy will he be in the regular season once everything becomes live and, you're measuring fall ball versus, summer against your own guys. But just, again, in a vacuum at training camp, it's been good. Calvin Austin's picking things up. He's showing his speed, and he got open on that moon ball that Russell Wilson threw. That was against Anthony Averett. So Austin, I think, has come on much stronger the last probably 2-3 practices.
Did I see a Jared Jenkins tweet today from you?
Did I mention that? He had a couple of catches over the middle. I don't know if I tweeted something on Jenkins or not, but again, of that back of the pack guys, he's been the most impressive overall, with some size, with some run after ability. Deuce Watts, a couple of drops. There were some tough throws over the middle. They've been tough to catch, but they certainly were catchable. And so Deuce Watts, he's got to be able to make some of those plays, and Jacob Copeland just not getting many reps at all.
All right, what do you have from the tight end position today?
Wish I had more. I don't know how much they were targeted today. I really don't have anything that sticks out. I mean, Hayward's being moved all around. Pruitt's getting snaps, not a ton of targets overall. Freiermuth's doing his thing. I don't know if Freiermuth was really targeted. I'll check my notes here today. He had, I think, one catch from Wilson in the flat, but yeah, not a lot of action for the tight ends. So they did throw a jump ball to Darnell Washington in 7 shots, and Casey made a great play to kind of stay with him and compete for that one and break it up. I don't know if he actually got a hand on the football, but he really contested it well. So that's a moment that Washington's got to come down with that one. But that was a great play by Casey.
All right, let's move to offensive line. Obviously, Troy Fautanu on the sideline still with that knee, and we'll talk a little bit briefly about him a little bit more in just a minute here. What happened at center, and with Fautanu, talk about the rotations at tackles.
It was pretty status quo compared to yesterday. Nate Herbig still getting the first nod as first team center. Zach Frazier would come in for the 4th rep of team period, the final rep with the ones against 12 plays in team. They go first team gets, I'm speaking generally, but first team gets 4, first 4, then second team gets the next 4, third team the final 4. And so Frazier would get that 4th with the ones and then still work, of course, second team center. Got Nate Herbig playing a bit of right guard in that second team center situation. I think he was actually some first team snaps as well. Daniels would come out when Frazier would come in at center for Herbig, and then Herbig would kick over from center to right guard. And then second team, Anderson still working probably more right tackle today than right guard, but I saw him in warmups getting right guard work as well. Gives Ryan McCollum some right guard work with the 2s when Anderson bumps over to right tackle.
Is your assumption still with a couple of practices left that Herbig will start the second preseason game against Buffalo, and then however long Frazier comes in after that, then will we see Herbig at guard in this game?
I think that makes sense. I don't want to completely close the door on Frazier starting this one. I want to hear from Mike Tomlin. I want to hear what his approach is for this Bills game, if he's going to treat it as the tune-up game. I imagine he will. Generally, that second game is viewed as the tune-up game now in this 3-game preseason format. If I had to guess, I would say Herbig still starts, but the door is open.
All right. What do you make of the Jerry Dulac report this afternoon that the team's all but this? Well, I think in so many words, he said they've decided that Fautanu, if healthy, and Dulac reports that the expectations are he'll be healthy by week 1, will be the team's starting right tackle.
I mean, I can't offer really any insight to the report directly. I think certainly the intention was for Fautanu to start picking up those first team right tackle reps right before he got hurt. The last couple of days leading to that preseason opener, Fautanu was working first team right tackle besides the Thursday practice where he knew that Jones was going to, and more were going to start that game. So they were getting the work kind of in that pregame preparation practice. So I mean, we'll see. It's a lot of time missed, and to put him in there, there's a little bit of projection and knocking off some rust. But I think Pittsburgh was hoping to do that. I can certainly get on board with Dulac's reporting from that aspect. I thought the interesting thing that he mentioned Dulac did in that article was not having a clear name at the left tackle spot between Dan Moore and Broderick Jones. Dulac framing that as a battle, and I don't want to get too much into the game. I'm not making this declaration, but I thought Broderick Jones did not have a great game against Houston. I thought he struggled to secure the edge. His punch was consistently missing. So I think he's got an elbow injury. I don't know if that's impacting things or not, but it was interesting to see Dulac kind of frame it as an open battle between Moore and Jones while he's basically cementing Fautanu as a starter.
Man, people are going to be out of their ever-loving minds.
I know.
All the talk was about whether or not Fautanu would crack the starting lineup with Broderick Jones playing left tackle. And look, we still got 27 days, right? And as we've seen before, a lot can happen in 27 days here. But people are going to lose their mind if that ends up with Moore at left tackle and Fautanu at right tackle.
Yeah, I still think Jones will start at left tackle, but I thought it was interesting to see the way that he phrased it.
I'm with you. I hear you. Picked up on that.
Yeah, I mean, what did you think of Jones' performance in the game? I didn't think it was particularly impressive in pass protection.
Yeah, I haven't tweeted any. I'll tell you what, I haven't tweeted any highlights from it.
Yeah, so just a note to file away on that one.
Look, I mean, so some of these guys should get more. Well, here's the thing: Jones is probably going to be at right tackle Friday night, right?
Yep, he'll start at right tackle and more at left tackle.
All right.
Frazier, by the way, had a good run blocking day for Zach Frazier. Quick note on him.
If you're going to go ahead and start Fautano, especially if he misses the rest of the preseason, man, just go ahead and put Frazier in there.
Yeah, I saw you tweeting about that. So yeah. I hear that. I totally get that.
Okay. Anything else from the offensive line? Maybe with some of the also rans. I mean, I think you've kind of made it clear now. Spencer Anderson's getting some. We might see him in this game at right tackle too.
Yeah, potentially second teamers come in. You'll have Dylan Cook at one tackle spot. Again, they've kind of had some duplicating reps with Broderick Jones getting some first and second team work. But yeah, it wouldn't shock me one bit if Anderson came in and played right tackle at some point in this game.
All right, let's flip over to the other side. And obviously being up in the stands, offensive line, defensive line, hard to judge. Is there any just notable things to come out, rotations or anything like that? Obviously, Benton still dealing with that eye, working on the side. What else you got?
Yeah, I don't have any big takeaways. They didn't do one-on-ones today. They were working on stunt pickup. So I'm looking at that less from an individual standpoint there. Dean Lowry coming back and playing. He played some base left end, played some sub-package D tackle. I saw Loudermilk get some additional D tackle sub-package reps today. I know there's some thinner lines with, Benton being out. Montravius Adams walked to the facility for a couple minutes, and so he missed basically one full team period there. He was okay. He came back. Ogunjobi probably getting some managed reps, so that may be the reason why Loudermilk got some more sub-package work. But I thought we mentioned this on one of the podcasts we've done that Loudermilk had a couple of nice rushes. I think Terrell Austin even noted that when he talked to the media yesterday. I don't think he's really an asset overall compared to the other, possibilities when these guys are healthy and available, Hayward, Benton, etc. But Loudermilk might be getting a little bit of a look there in nickel to see if he can continue to add to his, resume as a pass rusher.
All right. Let's see. What else do I have here? You covered Loudermilk. You covered Lowry and how he looks. All right. I guess we can move on to inside linebacker. Is a little bit of a hold your breath moment during practice today, was there not?
There was competition period. It's not the one-on-ones. They're working bunches, 3-on-3, 3 eligibles, 3 receivers against 3 defensive players, typically a corner, a safety, and a linebacker. So just kind of working route combinations and pattern matching, all that kind of stuff. And there was a throw over the middle that Fryermuth caught. There was a collision between, not sure exactly who the other party was, but Peyton Wilson was one of those guys, and he fell down hard and was down for a second. It's either his hip or his right side or his back or something got checked out, but he came back in and finished out the day. So a little bit of a scare, but Peyton Wilson is okay and had a good day against the run. Thought he got off a block swell, shed the block of Pruitt on one play, and then shed Dan Moore on another play later in teams. So I'd like to see the active hands and staying clean for Peyton Wilson.
All right, and back-to-back practices now for Patrick Queen, right?
Yeah, he's practicing. He's full. I think what Mike Tomlin said that those guys might get the Wednesday practice off in terms of Robertson in Queen. So it might be Wilson kind of running the show for that final camp practice.
All right. Once again, I thought Windman played a good game late in that preseason game. Like to see him he's still logged quite a few snaps. I would imagine he's probably going to log several more in the second half of this game against Buffalo. So he made a little bit noise. And I think we talked about the special team snaps and all that he got. So that's someone to keep an eye on with 2 preseason games remaining here. Outside linebacker, Kyron Johnson. We've said this a lot, quick off the edge.
Oh, yeah, he is lightning quick off the ball. He really threatens the edges for tackles, really makes them press. You see tackles really have to abandon their set a lot and just kind of try to turn, open their hips, and try to ride him upfield because he is so quick off the football. So, he's not going to be a guy that's going to win with overwhelming power, undersized, pretty small there for an outside linebacker, but he is really quick off the edge. He even dusted Dan Moore and forced Russell Wilson to step up and check the ball down during one team period rep. So I think it's a really fun battle that's going to exist between Kyron Johnson and Jeremiah Moon for that 4th outside linebacker spot.
Which one of those two has had the better camp?
That's a fair question. I mean, they've both had some injuries. Johnson missed a week with a hamstring. Moon missed about 2 days with some unknown ailment. They're different body types. They're kind of different people. Moon is this really big, long guy. Johnson is small, quicker. Moon's got a really good inside spin move. He beat Devery Hamilton on that today. I think when healthy, Johnson has been better, but Moon's been a bit more available. Make me choose. I'll say Johnson, but both have had good camps.
Probably we don't have many more these special editions to talk about him, and he's a new player, but I think he showed up in your Twitter feed today. New inside linebacker LaQuay Washington.
Yeah, he got some reps. These guys. It used to be when I was going to camp at the start a decade ago. It's been these guys would get signed and they take about a day or two to get in the team periods, kind of get warmed up. They take the first day, they do some individual stuff, maybe ramp things up the next day. But then by the third day, they're in. Not anymore. You get signed, you are in, first day that you get signed. And Washington was signed the other day, but he was working in Sunday's practice. And he had a tackle and a non-tackling period, but you kind of, I don't know, maybe you kind of feel some of these guys fighting for a spot, being like, they don't have too many camp practices left. And yeah, when we leave, we're still practicing at the team facility in Pittsburgh, but we're trying to make camp count. And so you had in a non-tackling session on back-to-back plays, Washington take down a running back. You had Dejon Edwards running over Thomas Graham. Like, I think guys know, like, hey, I got to make the most of my chance here, but that means I got to be a little aggressive. And, then I'll go with the old Tomlin, rather say wool than sick 'em approach. So I think these guys are kind of feeling the heat of, we got to make these reps count.
What have you thought about Mark Robinson's camp?
I've liked it overall. I think he's been his typical downhill, aggressive self. I think he's made some plays in coverage in the short underneath game. I think he might be diagnosing and reading things better. Can it all come together? There was one play for Robinson where you could feel it. I could see him out of the corner of my eye, key it and fly off the ball on a run to Jonathan Ward. And he's meeting him in the hole, but he took a bad angle and just whiffed and just missed Jonathan Ward entirely. So like he got the first half of it right about reading his keys, anticipating getting past his blocker into the hole, but then couldn't finish the play in a live tackling session. So still's probably some work to be done there, but it does feel like he's made some progress.
All right, let's move into the secondary and talk about the slot rotations right now.
Basically, same as yesterday. Graylin Arnold, first team slot corner. Second team slot corner was Beanie Bishop. I don't think Thomas Graham got many, if any, slot reps. He's been working outside, but that also is fine because you got some outside reps for the taking with Dante Jackson out, with Caitlin Barnes out. And so that gave Graham opportunity. He's got inside, outside versatility. Arnold made plays. He was active. They blitzed the corners a lot today, those cat corner blitzes. So, you're seeing a guy that is not going to just allow Beanie Bishop to have the starting job.
Tell me what happened on that. I think you got an interception in there today.
Who's that?
Was it today that somebody stepped in front of one but didn't get it?
Bishop or Arnold? I just wasn't sure you were asking.
It says Graylin Arnold continues. Oh no, Deuce. No, I thought there was one in here.
Bishop stepped in front of a pass. He should have picked it. It hit off his hands, and then Kyler McMichael picked it. That's probably what you're talking about.
Okay, that's probably the one I'm thinking about there. All right, what's happening with the outside guys? You got some obviously Dante Jackson off. They're trying to give Corey Trice Jr. a lot more snaps this week.
He is, and with the one, so it's not always about where you're running, but are you getting the top competition? And Trice has been working first team outside corner opposite Porter the last 2 days. Second team has really been Rush and Averett, I believe, and then Graham also working in there as well. They don't have kind of a little thin a corner right now on the outside with some of these guys missing. I imagine one of these two open spots, they're going to add a corner in there, and then maybe add, whatever else they need, tackle, receiver, safety, etc. But yeah, it's really been Trice getting those first team looks.
What's happening with Darius Rush?
It's been steady, I guess, steady and quiet. Don't have a lot of notes on him, good or bad overall. He's gotten gunner work when they were working, not full punts, but they were kind of piecing together, working on kind of downing and fielding punts inside the 5. I think Rush was one of the first guys out there. Maybe the second pairing. Actually, I think it was Des Fitzpatrick and Jonathan Ward the first pairing, but still getting work there, still working second team corner. It's still could make this team and need some some teamers in those gunner spots we talk about, but Trice is getting those first team reps, which tells you something about them wanting to get that long look at Corey Trice with the ones.
And I imagine this will be a short conversation about the safety position today.
Yeah, it typically is and is today. It was Casey running first team with Elliott out, Deshaun Elliott out. There's two Elliott's at safety now with Jalen. But yeah, it was Casey and Fitzpatrick. And then really from there, you had some Killebrew and Ryan Watts, some Jalen Elliott and Cam Sutton pairings. Cam Sutton has played safety really for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, partially because lines are thin there and partially because he's smart enough to do it and they trust him and they don't need to see him in the slot while they work guys like Arnold and Bishop there. But pretty much status quo at the safety position.
All right, walk people through 7 shots today, and was there a questionable one?
There was. I think I missed the first half of the play. I think it was a defensive stop, at least by the body. I go off of body language a little bit, and I think it was a defensive stop. But yeah, first play was the end around to Cordero Patterson from right to left from a slot right position, stepped out of a Casey, kind of arm tackle and scored. Second one was the jump ball to Washington that Casey defended. Nice play for him, for Casey. Third one was maybe the questionable one. I'm not even sure who had the carry up the middle. I don't know if it was Warren or Patterson, but Landon Roberts came in. His helmet came off. I think he stopped him short. Roberts was hyped and acting like it was stopped short there. So I gave that to the defense. Fourth one, Fields under some pressure. Probably would have been a sack or some other scramble moment there, but Fields flushed out to his right and found Calvin Austin wide open right side. I don't know if somebody slipped. There was one DB that was on the ground. I don't know what happened there. Miscommunication, but a touchdown all the same. Next one was Connor Hayward lined up in the backfield as a running back next to Justin Fields and ran to the left flat, was wide open for a touchdown on the fifth play. Jonathan Ward, a rushing touchdown. It was a good push by the left side of Cook and McCormick for the sixth rep there. And then finally, Tomlin brings in the ones. They ran an end around to Pickens, like the Patterson one, and he scored as well. So it's 5-2 for the offense based on my tally.
All right, what was your biggest takeaway from today? What was your biggest kind of, okay, I got that out of today's practice?
The deep balls for sure that Fields and Wilson had to kind of really feel like those guys were going, again, like I said, toe for toe. Just, I think it was Wilson that threw it first, and then Fields came back later and uncorked one. And so just kind of watching their arm talent and those guys. I don't know if it's explicitly, this guy threw deep, so I'm going to air it out too and show what I can do. Just probably more happenstance, but it's kind of fun to see those guys. It was the first time it really felt like a battle today, if you want to, again, use that framing, where I still think Wilson is confidently in the lead, but in terms of guys being healthy and competing and getting reps, and you made a play, so I'm going to go make a play. It was the first time, I think, of all camp where it kind of really felt like that environment today.
All right, any special teams notes today?
Cameron Johnston punted some. His times were okay, nothing crazy, but it was fine overall. Return line's the same, nothing really notable there. They kicked field goals, but I can't really judge from my angle if things are good or not. It looked all good for Boswell and for Matthew Wright, but I really couldn't get a great feel for it.
All right. I think we've walked through it then. You will once again be out there for the final training camp practice open to the public on Wednesday. I believe that's a morning practice, right?
Correct. Morning practice.
All right. So we should be back in the early afternoon trying to get that episode done and up on the platforms in good enough evening time there. So you and I will be back on the Wednesday morning full episode of the Terrible Podcast. And then obviously that will be followed up Wednesday evening with the final special edition of the Terrible Podcast. So until then, as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button. Follow the directions that way. So, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2024 with Dave and Alex.